Yes. My dog Spencer, always when I come home, he grabs one shoe, carries it around the house. And then you have to find that shoe. It's like, where the heck do you leave it? Because and all this. And it's all of me, and I know, but it's cute until it's not. It's not. I don't have my pizza right now because I can only find it. I was gonna wear one. It's not. Yeah. Song. Logan, you have the ice on? Have the mics on?
They should be on.
Are we on Zoom?
Completely different than what I usually do, but yeah, we're on.
Can we tell who's on there?
Who's
on mine?
This is totally, I don't even know what's going on anymore. This is not what I'm used to doing, but this is what they're telling me to do, so.
I'm on.
Is anybody-
This is Jeff. Hello.
Can you hear us?
Okay, Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you. I don't have a picture of you guys anymore. I've just got a picture of City Hall and the Heenies behind it.
We are
This is totally, I don't even know what's going on.
now we're
This is not what I used to do. This is what I used to do, so.
I'm on.
So that's what they're seeing right now is the city of Cordova.
Okay, hang on, Jeff. We're working on it. Where's that mute button right there? You hear me?
Yeah, I've got you. I don't have a picture of you guys anymore. I just got a picture of City Hall and
Fix that right now.
the Heenies behind it.
So that's what they're seeing right now. is the city of- This is a whole new shit that they threw at me. This is not what we were used to doing.
Want to restart? If you
Hold on a minute on that, you guys. We're trying to figure out what's going on here.
Alright. Start. Okay. Okay, that's working now. They can see you.
Okay, can you go to Chrome and mute the YouTube and I'll get rid of the feedback?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That should work now.
Yep.
Okay.
When the Zoom, well, it's not crazy. The doc show is a participant sport. At the bottom. See right there. It says participants.
Who are the participants?
We're one of them. And then you.
Okay. We're good too.
Have you guys still got me?
Yeah,
Okay,
we got you.
again.
I think we got our issues worked out.
Do you hear me, Jeff? Yeah, I got you. Thanks, Kenny.
Okay, we're ready?
Yes.
We're ready, recording. Good. Okay, we'll call the regular city council meeting January 18th to order at 7 p.m. If you could stand and join me in pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call please, Susan.
Mayor Ellison.
Here.
Tom Baylor.
Here.
Kathy Sherman is absent. Jeff Guard,
Here,
Melina Meyer,
Here.
Ann Schaefer. Here. Kristen Carpenter. Kristen Carpenter is a yes. And Ken Jones.
Here.
That's a quorum on council.
The approval of the regular agenda. Move to approve. Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion, changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries unanimously. Disclosure of conflicts of interest and ex parte communications. Anything to disclose? Hearing none, then we'll move on to communications by and petitions from visitors. But we have no guest speakers, so audience comments, 3 minutes per speaker. Mic is open. Anybody? Cause panic. One by one. Okay, chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions, TCMC. Dr. Sanders.
Hello, so first I wanted to just say, I think everybody got a chance to read the letter from MBE and. From the hospital perspective, we're looking forward to continuing this communication. We've been working really hard at collaborating. The physicians in town have been collaborating for the last few years really well, and in fact, we have the Olympic credit on our medical staff. And that's a huge change from where we were at. So the hospital continues to operate on very thin. That negative margin. We recently received, after talking to one of our partners, the Petersburg Hospital CEO, discovered that there was a study that was done in 2017 that showed that compared coastal Alaska hospitals with similar type hospitals in Washington. And one of the things that really stood out in this study is Alaska. The small hospitals in Alaska really struggle. You can't pull, you have much smaller populations to pull from because we're so isolated. And our ERs tend to be our largest department that has the biggest losses. For Cordova, our losses in our emergency department accounted for 75% of the hospital losses, compared to Petersburg or Wrangell, which were 30 to 40% of their losses. Of that 75%, 80% in Cordova, and this is a study from several years ago, but I don't think it's changed, 80% is undocumented, uninsured or underinsured. And when we look at the period of time when those people are coming into our ER, it tends to be around the time we have a really high migrant workforce here. So we're gonna be digging into that this summer and hoping that we can get the community to really help us and business partners to help us get people insured and coverage so that we can collect on that. That's a huge loss for the hospital. So yeah, we're operating on thin margins, but we're really looking for ways that we can continue to improve in places that we can be part of. Any questions?
Questions for Dr. Sanders?
I just have a question about that. So Cordova's numbers were included in that study.
Yeah, so this study was Cordova, Wrangell, and Petersburg.
Would you mind sharing it with I just be interested in reading it.
Yeah, sure, I'll forward it to you.
Thanks.
Anybody online? Questions for Dr. Sanders? Doesn't sound like it. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
School board. Leader from the school. Student council. Over there to school, so approval of consent calendar is before you.
Anybody isn't gonna pull anything, I'm gonna call the roll on the consent calendar. I will do that. Ken Jones,
Yes.
Jeff Guard,
Yes,
Melina Meyer,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman is absent, Tom Baylor.
Yes.
Kristen Carpenter,
Yes.
Ann Schaefer.
Yes.
The consent calendar is approved.
Okay, thank you. The minutes were in the consent calendar. Consideration of bids, proposals and contracts, approval of contract extension until the annual review can be completed for the city manager Helen Howard. It's coming forward.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the first amendment to the employment agreement between the city of Cordova and Howard.
Second,
It's been moved and approved. I guess the only discussion I really have on this is, been talking with Helen about it and we're, I don't think a deal is far off, but the contract expired maybe yesterday, the day before, a couple days ago. And, we need to probably do the annual evaluation and then do the contract with that evaluation. So, we'll get that, that started, the next meeting probably, and hopefully have a contract within a month.
Is March 1st going to be a sufficient time?
I think so. I mean, as far as our discussions go, I don't think there's. I don't see a problem. I think we'll have to have probably one council meeting to discuss it and one council meeting to approve it. And I think that will suffice probably, unless there's somebody that has.
That's why I put that,
Big issues.
that's 3 meetings out,
Was that?
right? So that date is 3 meetings out.
Yeah, I think that, I think we could do the evaluation one meeting and then discuss it and then. Probably the next
Move the
meeting.
contract at the next one. Yeah, okay.
That's my
This
take
is
of it.
Councilman Guard. I got a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How soon can we get the review paperwork out so we can have some time to get through that and that won't be holding us up?
As long as staff at the city did,
We just need direction from council that you want that sent out and we
Yeah.
can make it so.
I think Cheryl wasn't here last time. I don't think that we did this, but yeah, we've got staff to help us with that now. So yeah, we can get that out next week, I think, and be able to get that in before. When's the next meeting? Another extra Wednesday or no?
No, February 1st.
So if we can get the paperwork out, get those surveys out, next week early, then maybe we can put it on the agenda for the February 1st to go over that. So does that give you enough time if you had it early next week, have it in by the meeting or by the day before the meeting?
well, usually we submit it and then it gets compiled
Yeah,
by
yeah,
staff, and
yeah.
then, so.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, that's no problem. I just need the day before the meeting to compile it. So. We'll put deadlines on that.
Got it.
Paper when we send that. And then a reminder every day, the week prior to that. To remind people. Any questions on the item before us, the contract, the addendum? Extension of the contract. All other terms the same in the contract, nothing's changing. Okay,
It should still be done by a roll call.
yeah, roll call.
Okay, so on the amendment to the contract, Melina Meyer,
Yes.
Kristen Carpenter,
Yes.
Tom Baylor.
Yes.
Jeff Guard,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman is absent, Ken Jones,
Yes.
Ann Schaefer.
Yes,
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. Reports of officers, mayor's report, apologize once again, I did not get a written report in, I spent a couple weeks over. New Year's right after Christmas in Anchorage, my brother-in-law passed away. And my dad's brother passed away yesterday morning. Yeah, he's been pretty bad shape for a while. He got COVID too, and he's been in a home and was on comfort care. So anyway, so been busy with family stuff for a couple of weeks, but I think the schedule for the summer. Ferry, is it out for comment or out for? It's just out for comment right now, right? It looked pretty decent for Cordova.
I just saw it.
I think it was 3 days a week, between Valdez and Whittier, and three or 4 days here. It was, they weren't taking a day off. For the schedule thing, it's every day of the week. Looked pretty decent for us, but it only goes through September, I think. So,
We have like 10 days or 2 weeks to come.
I don't remember what the time frame was on that. Did we all get an email? on
I have
that?
not seen it, but I will forward it to you. Chances are I can find it.
There was I saw it on, I don't know, some state. I'll get it to Susan,
Okay.
or get it to you, for the comments on it. It looked pretty decent for us. But again, they're still, way behind the 8 ball. People planning their summer vacation have done that, last year already there. So anyway, we need to push them to get that schedule a longer time in advance, but the Aurora was going to be ours again, so. Anyway, apparently there's only 2 boats right now, the Aurora and the Toya that can do all the ports in Brunswick himself. Which is probably one of the reasons we're modifying some of the docks, so. Anyway, legislature just started yesterday. I don't know if the House is got leadership yet.
Yes.
Do they? Off and running for another new year, so. Mark, did you want to comment on the school at all, or? Okay, so anyway, that's my report. If you have any questions. With that, I've been talking with Helen on her contract too. That should be. Maybe from my perspective anyway, so. Okay, manager's report.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'm going to just segue right into the South Harbor rebuild update, and I'm going to turn things over to Johnson, who is city's representative and manager with the project.
Mayor, council, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'll give you a brief update and any questions you might have regarding the South Harbor. So the design is on schedule. We are where we need to be, right about the 65% design approval. We're working through some fine details, working with Harbor Commission on, again, fine tuning. When this comes out as an RFP and the bid build process, everybody paints a pretty broad brush. We want docks here, we want an upland there. We understand it's got to kind of do these things for us, but as we award the contract and start tightening up these milestones, 35%, 65%, that's when we get into the devil of the details and make sure that we've got a transformer here and not there. We've got a freeboard height of 21 inches, not 18. These things are important. These are the things that we're going through right now with Harbor Commission and with contractors and engineers and with MARAD, who holds our purse strings in a large way. So we're in a good place. We are where we need to be right now, but there's still a lot of work to go. And our team is doing a great job. Sam's been carrying the lion's share of this whole project. I'm here to brief, but so design, we've got a couple things we're working on. Really, it's balancing budget with reality with what we want. And I think we should have something final in the coming week to say what we can do. There's still some dollars rolling in on some nice to haves, not must haves, but nice to haves. So we'll have that and we'll present that to the Harbor Commission as well. Budget, we are in the process of signing the tier 1 state portion of the grant. We don't want to sign it too soon, even though it was awarded, authorized, so to speak, and now it's being appropriated. We don't want to sign it too soon because we have 18 months to spend that money. So we signed it 5 months ago. That's just even greater time that we don't have. Along with that, our MARAD, our raise grant, we did change, as you remember, we had asked for more money. So we had to change our design. Just reality got away from us, I think, and that just inflation. So we had to change the scope of our work, not substantially, but enough that pushed us to go back to MARAD, who holds the grant for DOT, and say, okay, these are the changes we're making. They're not appreciable to the services like we said the original would provide. Is okay, but you have to resubmit a bunch of documents and just make sure that everything lines up, that we're still doing what we said we do. We're confident that will be approved, but that's got to go to the Secretary of Transportation for the final approval, his staff. So we're still waiting on that. We are being told from MARAD, people that are handling our grant, there shouldn't be any problems with it, but this is part of the process. So we're still waiting for that. Environmental permitting, obviously a big part of it. One nice thing is that when we de-scoped a lot of the original project, we were able to remove some environmental permit requirements. We still have to check the boxes and go through them, especially Corps of Engineers. But now that we're not dredging, now that we're not filling, now that we're not moving a bunch of seabed and disrupting potentially hazardous dredge soils, we don't have to go through a lot of the process. We still have to check the box and go through, and we have environmental advisors that walk us through that to make sure that we're not just blindly. I think this is it. We are where we need to be, on the environmental side. It's also got to go to the National Marine Fisheries Service. It's also got to go to DEC. There are a lot, as I'm sure you understand. But again, we're moving in the right direction always. Contractors, they've been very helpful. They're providing us with some great solutions to some of our changes, some cost savings that are very helpful. And they're getting ready to buy materials and really get serious about the design that we want. So that's a good thing. That should be like the next 2 or 3 weeks. They'll start buying those long lead time items. Some items to take 5 months to build to get. We were very fortunate at CEC bought ahead purely luck on the transformers. It's a 2.5-year lead on transformers, and they had stockpiled. We've got dozens of them that we're going to use in this project. So we're really lucky with that. No one saw that happen. So that's just one part of it, of the many. And then we'll be loading the material barges sometime in the summer with all our stuff and our pile and our floats and everything else, and bring it up here. So it's a good thing. We are finalizing the exodus from the South Harbor removal plan of vessels. That's a big step for us, just communicating out to all the big users of the harbor, the South Harbor and the North Harbor. We've got to make accommodations for service vessels tier 1, and we're trying our best to accommodate tier 2 and see how we can fit those folks in. The deep draft vessels that have to be pulled or can't be trailered, and then there's the trailer boats. What do we do with those two? Making sure that tier 1 is definitely represented for their contract, and then as many tier 2 as we can. So we're working with our commission on that, finalizing that, get everybody's buy-in and approval of that process, because we may be reducing the cost or giving some parking away for free. And we're working on that, just getting everybody's buy-in and awareness on that. That's the way ahead for that. So we're learning a lot as we go, especially in regards to service tier 1 versus tier 2. Tier 1 came to us really quickly, made sense. And now there are tier 2 accommodations that you're confident working with the service board. We should get everybody in the North Harbor, but we're going to have to make sure that you don't have to be in the North Harbor either. We're going to ask you to vacate as well. So it's a bit of a juggle, and communicating those needs is a bit of a challenge, but we're getting there. We're slowly chipping away at it. We still do have quite a bit of time, but again, it's one of those many things that we need to get this thing going. With that, that is my report. Any questions?
Good. It's on schedule.
It's good. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. City financials, there is a very draft financial report, year-end report, as you know. There's a lot of year-end adjustments that need to be entered in, and we're just in the middle of January here. So what you see in front of you is a rather tentative, not tentative, it's a pretty dang close, but there's some things that need to be corrected, amended and adjusted. But I think the clear things is that we've done well with revenue. And we've done well with expenses. We'll have a clear conversation around this. We will be looking at a budget work session to discuss the capital projects that we had postponed until earlier in this year, from last year, when we were working on the budget. And at that time, we will have had an opportunity for Altman Rogers, who's on contract with the city, to do year-end work with city staff to make sure our financial reports are accurate as we move into an audit, which will be taking place in early May. So we'll have more accurate data, and we'll be able to identify those resources that council should consider perhaps reimbursing the permanent fund with. That would include school bond debt reimbursement. You'll notice a big number on the income statement there. And we'll have a better sense of what ARPA funds are still available and how those might be deployed as we look at capital funding for 2023. So I'll have more information on all of that, but I just want to kind of give you a basic understanding of where we're at, and know that any big kind of what is this kind of moments will be adjusted and be clearer and more accurate at our February budget meeting. Also want to let you know that our investments, we have moved resources into AMLIT, which is the Alaska Municipal League Investment Pool. We're earning just around 3.5% interest. Bond proceeds that we received, close to 5 million, are in that AMLIT pool. Those resources are subject to arbitrage rules, so we have to be really careful that we don't get more return on investment than we're allowed by the bond. I'll have a better report on that. I know investments have been a concern for everyone. I have not had the time to really dig deep and get you what you're looking for, but we'll start working in earnest on that in February. So I'll have some more information on that. Also want to just share, Native Village of Eac, as you all know, has some big projects going on in the community, one of which is the Shepherd's Point. And next Thursday, Ted, right at, what time was it again?
4 o'clock.
4?
There's meetings during the day.
Right, but the community meeting is 6 to 8 that evening.
Yeah, you're right, I'm getting it.
No, it's okay. No. So anyway, we're really excited because NVE is moving forward, and they will have a team in town next Thursday to do meetings with various constituencies in town, but we'll have an open house for the community to learn about the project, to understand what's happening. And I just wanted to share that, make sure everyone knows that they'll have an opportunity to really learn about what he's got planned and go forward from there. And I think that's it for me.
Questions for the city manager? Go ahead.
Our last CIP list we passed last March, but now that the new legislature's in session, should we take another look at that?
Yeah, we'll have that at the next.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Questions for the manager? Anyone online? Questions for Helen? Hearing none, then we'll move on to the city clerk's report.
I just wanted to say that all the items that were in the consent calendar, in case you're in the audience and you're not used to coming to council meetings, those were all approved. So none of them got pulled, so those are all approved. So you were appointed to our CAC and Charity, your item was approved. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everybody realized that, because sometimes that's hard to understand if you're not used to council meetings. So I sent council an email about this. The 2019 foreclosures were like a year late because of COVID, but we finalized that and took 2 properties. And as we've been working through with the attorneys exactly what to do, we were going to present have an executive session next meeting, actually, to talk to you guys about that. The owner and some family members got in touch with us and they have repurchased properties. So there are procedures in place where, I mean, it was owned by the city. But he came in with a cashier's check for all the amount needed, including some upkeep that we've had to do up on the property, like, which isn't really upkeep, but we've had some attorney's fees that we could put to it. So we just signed some deeds today, turning it back over to him, so those will be recorded and he's released from that. I just wanted that known because I know some are said out loud at a meeting. I know some of the neighbors had been asking me about it. And I haven't gotten back in touch with any neighbors, but that's the case. It's back in private ownership. The city deeded that back. And then I want to talk about the election. The declaration of candidacy has been open for a while, but people are dragging feet, I guess. I haven't heard from anyone yet. 2 council seats, Kathy Sherman and Jeff Gard. Jeff Gard is termed out, Kathy Sherman is not. I don't know if she's running. 1 school board seat is open, Cheryl Gleason's, and I haven't heard from her or anyone. And 2 CCMC seats, Kelsey Hayden and Chris Einazone. So, if anybody's interested, you can come see the clerk's office and we have forms to fill out. And it closes February 6th. Otherwise, the advertising is out on Facebook and on the city webpage and posted around town. I think it goes on the radio this week and it's been in the newspaper a couple of times, so. Maybe start talking about, maybe it's because we haven't met or maybe people are just waiting. That does happen sometimes. And I got in touch with my election board today and they all quickly responded, so I should have a good 4 or 5 ladies ready to work the election. And that's all I have to report right now. I can answer questions.
I've got a question. Good. So on that property, is there is that a requirement that you sell it back to the original owner or?
Yes,
Okay.
they have 10 years. If the city has not sold it yet, they have 10 years to, and they would have had to pay all the taxes due over that 10 years, including penalties and interest and whatever. Since we haven't taken the next step, it's still there. Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Other questions for the clerk? Online, any questions for the clerk? Okay, thank you, Susan. Correspondence, a couple letters in there. I think this winter storm letter was prior to the last winter storm, wasn't it? Which was work.
Yeah, that's an old one, right?
Yeah.
And the one we just gave you today was a new one?
That's different,
Oh, different.
yeah.
Well, I think they did some temporary repairs already.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's gonna end up being a pretty major deal action. Okay, and then a new farm site lease. In there, any questions, comments?
The only comment I would have is it would be nice to see these new lease applications reach out to fleet representatives, CDFU prior to putting in their locations. I don't see any problem with this location, but just a general comment. Some of them have, some of them don't. Yes. Be nice to see it standardized. Make sure it doesn't conflict with the fishing area. For sure.
Okay, anything else for the clerk? Or on the correspondence, I mean? Okay, no ordinances and resolutions or unfinished business, so we'll move on down to new and miscellaneous business. We have a discussion with NBE letter of interest regarding healthcare. It's 37.
Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss matters we acknowledge with this. To discuss the NDE letter of interest regarding healthcare, we need to acknowledge that there's clearly have an adverse effect on finances of the government.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded to go into executive session to discuss this letter prior to discussing an open session. All those in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
Yeah. Can we discuss the motion first?
Yeah, typically, executive session, the motion to go on, we can.
Well, I guess I would like to. I mean, I see there's a couple NBE representatives in the audience. Before we kick everybody out of the room, I'd like to hear from them.
I read, like, maybe have like an overview of where we are and where we are in the process, and then if we do feel we need to go into executive session, we can do that, but we haven't heard an update in a while, so it might be nice for the public to just get a refresher on where we are in the situation.
Withdraw the motion or we can vote on the motion. Either way, same results.
withdraw it for now.
Okay. Okay, Helen, you wanna start us off with this or?
Sure, and I want to introduce Ted Wright, who is a new face. No, you were here at a previous meeting. I can't remember. Ted Wright is the new director, executive director of the Village of Eac. And Carrie Collins, both of you are here. If you'd like to come up, as you all know, in your packet is a letter from them expressing their interest in renewing a process to just move towards universal health care in Cordova, an improved healthcare system. They also specifically are looking at a clinic for Native Village of Eac. So I'm going to let you guys just give an overview and then council can ask any questions there.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. We got to a certain point after having several meetings where we thought we should at least lay down some of the expectations, both on our side and what we were thinking about as expectations for the city. My understanding is, not having been here very long, that there is a long history of conversations about consolidation of healthcare in Cordova. They don't have any, obviously, real live sort of history of that, but a lot of conversations, so I get it. And I was in Sitka when the healthcare consolidation happened there with search from the community hospital, so I'm not unfamiliar with this territory. So the letter of interest really, like I said, just lays out some expectations and ways that we can begin having a conversation about it that's more real than just the sort of, you know, let's do this kind of thing theoretically, because we're spending considerable amounts of money now to see if the site adjacent to the medical center is viable. And we're at a no-go point here soon. We're approaching Congress with an appropriations request. We need information from the site analysis to do that. So there's a bunch of steps that are going to follow one after the other that have started as of a couple months ago, and that will accelerate as we get certain parts of the analysis done, and as we move from the phases 1 and 2 to the other phases of site located, funding secured, let's build something. So it's a tribal clinic, and then it is whatever it is, but we don't know if this site's going to be. So that's what these early stages are for. And so our consultant Carrie have been working with Ellen to see if we can bounce some sound out into the ground to see what's below the surface, and environmentally whether it's going to work at all. And we should know that here soon, and then we'll move forward with full speed ahead. There'll be a bunch of meetings, of course, where we talk about the project, and the public will have a lot of input into that. We're setting up a couple of working groups, which Carrie can talk about, both in terms of governance and business model. And that's a critical part of getting this done too, so that we know how all that will work, and we have plenty of participatory sessions with the public and with you all and with our council and all the other players. So we're excited. I'm very excited. This is a much more pleasing project to me than some other projects. And so I'm happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'll just touch on, working groups really quickly. We met with Helen a couple times we've met, to talk about work groups and Hannah and myself have had some conversation as well. So what I think what our plan is gonna be moving forward is that we'll have probably two, work groups. So one will be more, clinical business, planning. So I know, Dr. Sanders has a group of people from CCMC that, would be involved in the process. What services are we gonna have? What building are the services gonna go in? Things like that. And then also, more legal and business, negotiation. Working groups, planning committees. So, Hannah and I will talk tomorrow about starting some meetings on that. That's all I have. Questions?
Questions? Yeah.
I guess I'm curious about. I mean, this is like, we're just hearing about this now, this idea that there's gonna be a clinic built on city property. We don't know how much square footage or what kind of what. Other configurations or scenarios have been considered. You know, whether there's room for remodeling in some of the existing buildings. I mean, this is, yeah, so I feel like we're being asked to comment on something that we don't know that much about right now. And we haven't been involved, and I don't know, has the medical center board been involved in talking about new locations in the clinic?
Well, a couple things. One is we're at that point where we want to begin meeting with the medical center board. But we thought the first thing would be to see if the site actually works. If it doesn't, a lot of other conversations don't need to be had. And we're trying to examine whether the site down by the helipad is a possibility, because then we don't need to use the park. And we understand that actually having a park transfer for this purpose would be challenging. So that's why our first option hopefully would be to locate it at the helipad area and maybe have 2 stories and connect to the medical center. And then once the consolidation happens, all that totally makes sense. But it really depends on what's underground. So that's what they're doing right now. And if that all works out, awesome. We can get the architects designing, we can have a bunch of charrettes where people have a lot of input into all that goes down in the working group and do what it does to determine how the business model would align with everyone's thoughts about healthcare and Cordova. Like I said, I'm new to the conversation, but I think all that's very exciting. We're also doing 3 or 4 other projects. We're going to have the same sort of charrettes and community input. So yeah, I mean, we really haven't been providing a lot of information about this because we think it's imperative first to see if that site works. And if the helipad doesn't work, we do need to look at the option of a little bit of a park there going into that helipad area. Then, then that's a longer process, obviously. And there may be no-go points down the road where people just don't want it to happen. And that's fine with us. We'll find another site. But I think the main point to take away is this letter of interest. It's really, we're not committing anything to either of you, but we have to start somewhere. And that's where we're at.
And I can just comment on your question about the building. There actually has been lots and lots of discussion amongst those of us who work within the building, those of them who work within the building, and VE contractors that we've had over the last several years, looking at the possibility of renovating the building. What you're looking at is a building that it does not currently meet the building codes for healthcare. And you can only renovate a certain percentage of it before the law requires you to renovate all of it. And then you surpass the cost of replacing it. And so it's just a really delicate walk that you have to do, and we're still looking at that, how we can best utilize that building while not going down a rabbit hole of, oh, now we have to replace this, oh, now we've gone too far, so that's what we're doing.
from my perspective as the mayor and a former council member, I can tell you, we've been talking about this since I had black hair. And I'm glad we finally see something in writing from NVE that says that there is a genuine interest there and that you've got many of the concerns that have been expressed over the years and I think, like you say, it's a good starting point. And there are lots and lots of details that we need to discuss and hammer out, but I think it's a good start and I appreciate the letter.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice we had a lot of these conversations and we felt like we were making progress and then COVID happened, but during COVID, it seems like there are a lot of opportunities for CCMC and NVE to partner with different healthcare services. So yeah, it's exciting to be getting this conversation going again. Yeah, in terms of expectations from the city, at one point we had, a formal point of contact and we were establishing regular meetings. So please with that, of course. So I don't see any issue with these expectations, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, if I could, I mean, we're having a lot of conversations with them. And we need to start meeting monthly. We keep talking about homes, and let's get that scheduled out. I know we have housing as another urgent issue here in the community of the city that trying to go working on this. So this is an awesome process because it's teaching me how to work with you all and with other members of the community and businesses and everybody. I know it's different from community to community, so this is a bit of a learning curve for me. I appreciate any input you would have that could help guide me down the right path.
Questions? Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Baylor.
Yes, thank you. Well, I totally support NB, their proposal as far as taking over all of the healthcare, but I do have a question of your timeline. From what I've read in the packet there, you're looking at building a clinic first and operating that. I don't understand what's the timeline as far as you guys taking over the hospital. I think if you're going to be building a clinic and just running that, you're going to be taking away some of the core businesses of the hospital. So that's probably not going to work out too well for the city of Cordova. So what is your plan? Are you planning on building a new clinic and taking over the hospital at the same time, or getting one operational and then the other? What are you looking at doing?
Well, yeah, we're gonna build a tribal clinic first, but at the same time, because that's a couple years process. We're working through the working groups, and particularly the working group that's going to develop a business plan that will make the transition one that doesn't disadvantage the medical center. And so there's lots of ways to do that. I think where there will be what called harmless in terms of your revenue stream of ours. So yeah, I mean, we could get into the weeds on that right here because we have some amazing ideas about substantially more revenue when we were consolidated. And that's probably not appropriate for this meeting at this time. But it's very exciting. I think the possibilities as far as that goes. Probably didn't answer your question in terms of the timeline, but at some point, once the clinic's built and we have consolidation, we're looking to fund a remodel of the medical center as is needed, and maybe in phases so that we get it some of the basics addressed, and then later on we do the full remodel. And at some point in history, I'll be retired, but at some point, Ellen will still be looking, but at some point, maybe build a new medical center connected to the tribal clinic, and will be like Surge or AMC or whatever. All nice, clean, used facilities, and whatever we do out and happy with that. But that's a long time. We're talking 10, 15 years.
I would just add that, throughout the time that NVE and the city or the hospital authority board have been operating two different healthcare organizations. I think that both of us have been very sensitive about what services we offer so that we don't duplicate services. I know I actually just had a conversation with Dr. Sanders about this the other day. And you know, NVE in particular is very sensitive to that. There are certain opportunities that we have to provide services that we just don't take. We just let them go by. Because we are sensitive to the business of the city. And we'll continue to do that as we move forward with this project and as we consolidate both healthcare operations. And I unfortunately can't give you a timeline. But personally, I'd like to see it happen sooner rather than later, but I think, you know, we're just going through the first steps right now and we'll start working toward that.
Okay, well, my concern is basically if you guys get hopefully you get your clinic built and up and running, but if you're duplicating services that we offer in the hospital, you're obviously going to siphon those off. You're going to have a nice brand new shiny clinic. That's going to leave the city of Cordova, you know, funding that hospital to keep it afloat. It needs everything it's doing right now to do that. So that was my concern, is we're going to get into where your competition are siphoning off more of the patients for the clinic before you get to take over the hospital. So I guess we'll get more information on that as we go by. Thanks.
I'm here 3 months tomorrow. And I've had probably 24 conversations with various managers, and folks in town about stuff the tribe could do, but probably won't do because we want to compete with local businesses. We don't want to put anybody out of business necessarily. So I think the leadership and the management are very sensitive to that. And, so we're going to be careful. But in the end, I think you'll be pleased.
That answer your questions, Councilman Baker?
Yeah, well, I look forward to this moving forward, and I hope we can work this out. It's been a long time coming. Thank you.
Anybody else online?
Yeah, this is Melina.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a general comment, that I really appreciate having this in writing, having this time for us to discuss it. We've had many discussions over the last few years, and it's nice to see something in writing from NVE and us kind of doing a path forward. I think you'll hear a lot from the same people. The main concern, especially when we're talking about healthcare, is just providing good quality healthcare to the community of Cordova. And we have two very aging buildings. And I think the last few years really showed us what we've been talking about, that the two entities can work well together. And before COVID happened, I think we were really moving towards this direction of consolidating the two. And it's not something that's going to be overnight. So that's why I really appreciate just kind of seeing some of these expectations and kind of getting it going again. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else online? Councilman Gard, that's the only other one online. Councilman Gard, you got any comments, questions?
No, I'm enthusiastic about seeing a letter of interest from the native village. I think it's a great way to go, but the devil's in the details, and there are a lot of them to figure out yet. So we'll see as it goes, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, if I could just add to all of that, and Melina kind of alluded to it, but ultimately it's the community of Cordova, it's the citizens of Cordova, which are maybe members of the village, maybe not, but we're all community of Cordova members, and I don't think, you know, maybe it's the trusting part of my soul, but I don't think anybody's going to do anything to try to reduce what we have now. It's all about improving the position of the community and the healthcare of the community. It's not, you know, the best way we can do that, and that's what we're after. Appreciate your letter. What are the next steps for the city then? I mean, I don't know if you still want to go into executive session to discuss.
Well, I see that we're being asked to approve the resolution
Yeah.
and provide a letter of support, and I guess I thought those we were talking about.
Yeah.
I would like to go into an executive session.
I'd still like an executive session, please.
Can I make one more comment?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually have a personal connection to this. My grandmother was born and raised here, but was sent away to boarding school in Oregon. Around age 13, and most of her family died of the flu when she was away. And so, yeah, when I think about healthcare in Cordova, she was saved, and I wouldn't have been born otherwise. So, yeah, it's a little bit personal in some respects.
Thank you. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming in and you know, we'll go into executive session. It sounds like to have some discussions on the city's side of things, and but we will come back in afterwards, and certainly any direction we give will be then made in public. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Do you have anything before we go, before we make a motion for executive?
I was just wondering if,
I thought maybe we should finish pending agenda and then take this up after the other executive session. If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We're almost done. Yeah,
Right.
comments and everything
Yeah.
for that. Sure. So pending agenda.
I think I've added a lot of things already today. Let's see. What did I?
We will, for the public there, we will do an executive session of 17 after number 19 down there, and then come back in.
So at the next meeting, you want to have an executive session to already maybe just, okay, this is how we've done the managers and clerks evaluations recently. Helen brought this
Yeah.
new way. So they all do their forms, hand them to you, you compile it, and then you and one other have a private meeting with Helen.
But usually the council discusses it first.
Oh, I see, do you?
Yeah.
Did? Okay, that I didn't know. Okay, so
So-
that's the part next.
I would, yeah, and then after that, council will decide if they're gonna go present that to Helen.
Okay, so next time you'll have
Next time we
an
wanna-
executive session for council to do.
Review the manager's review.
Okay. Okay, and then,
And that could
we're gonna,
include contract
maybe on the one after.
information. Well, it could include
Oh,
direction on negotiations for.
sure,
for some-
okay,
If anybody, usually after you do the evaluation, say, and it warrants a deduction in pay or warrants an additional pay.
okay, but either way, it's just an
Yeah,
executive session,
yeah,
we don't
right.
need an open session.
No.
later. And then we'll have the CIP list with a new resolution number and whatever. I forgot, anybody else have something? Those were the two, well, I know, I'm gonna put my election board on, but that's an easy one.
The mayor,
We're gonna do. Yeah, go ahead. Was that Baylor?
now, this is Councilmember Guard. If we're working on pending agenda right now, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, I would like in the near future to either have a work session or time at the meeting to discuss bear and trash problems before we get right next to it in the spring, and basically just give everything a nod and move ahead like we've been doing. I'd like to be a little bit proactive this year if we can come up with some ideas or solutions that might put us on a better footing when the bears show up. So I'm in favor of doing that in the next meeting or so, before I get off.
Yeah, sounds good.
March.
Yeah, that one in my neighborhood just went to sleep, hopefully a couple weeks ago. He was still up a couple weeks ago, put it that way.
What did you put him to sleep with?
No, I didn't put him to sleep. I'm hoping he went to sleep by himself.
Okay,
Another thing that we want to try to do before the turnover in council in March was to do the city clerk evaluation as
Right.
well.
Yeah,
So maybe we'll do that one after we do this
Right.
one right away. Get
Yep.
this out.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a estimated time of arrival for a housing work session?
Kevin, our planner, has been actively working on that, and I can give you an update for next meeting. And we are actively working with NPD as well, so there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of things to do, but we're working.
So not an agenda item or anything, you'll report in your report about it. With these missed meetings, I forgot to remind staff reports, so those will be in the next meeting. They would usually be in this one. Just so you know.
I would like to have quarterly. What did they call those?
Staff,
Mayors,
no,
mayor,
the
mayor,
lunch,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Quarterly?
Quarterly and start in February.
sure,
I'm not sure what the best day is, I have to talk to the other. Best day and time would be. Between meetings, maybe preferably. So that if there's something that comes up that can. Be brought up.
got
that
it,
way.
and there's some new.
But I think quarterly is good enough, I don't think you're, I think most of those committees might be monthly. So we'll start that in February.
Got it,
I'll get maybe I'll get the chair's emails from you,
okay, all right, I'll compile that.
put a note out to see when best time would be. Anything else with the agenda? Okay, on down to audience participation now. Anybody have any comments on anything? At all? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to council comments. We'll start online. Councilmember Gardner.
thanks everybody for showing up. Thanks NBE for coming and giving us your proposal. We're always happy to go to work on this with you. And other than that, hope everybody had good holidays. No more comments.
Hey, thank you. Councilmember Meyer.
I'll just echo those comments. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Baylor.
And as we go on executive session, if Kristen could you move closer to your mic, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, anything else? Okay, Councilmember Carpenter.
I just want to thank the folks who got appointed to fill boards and commissions tonight. Dave Janko is going to represent the city for Prince William Sound RCAZ, and Robert Beadle was here. I think also because he's shifting to representing CDFU, so thank you for that, and for Sherman Powell on the library board. And I did look up the ferry comments. There's going to be a public hearing on the 27th.
Yeah.
At 10, there's a Zoom reference on the ferry website, and then comments are due on the 26th on the summer schedule. So really just a few more days.
Gosh.
That's next Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know when this came out. It's dated the 13th.
Almost always get those, and I went through all my books.
It was just recently, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, comments on the summer schedule due by the 26th, and the public hearing on the 27th. Thank you.
Hey, Councilmember Jones.
Appreciated the harbor update and look forward to seeing more on that. Here in the coming weeks, at the council level.
Okay.
I appreciate it, bringing stuff out, I appreciate people who are willing to serve the community on the RCAC and other communities. And yeah.
I've got a couple conversations going on here at once that I'm having a hard time hearing anything with.
No worries. Okay, Councilman Schaefer.
Yeah, thanks to Colin for the harbor update and to him and Sam and the other people on the team and harbor commission for working hard on that project. And thank you to NDE for starting the healthcare conversation up again.
Okay, just a quick question before we go into executive sessions. Are there still commission seats open that we need to fill?
Just Historic Preservation Commission,
Okay, and is that a specific?
those are very specific.
Okay,
I need to send an email to Nancy Bird
okay,
and get with her to figure that out.
okay, sounds good. Okay, the next item on our agenda is executive session. The first one we're gonna do